Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host as usual, and obviously welcome back to the show. Today's episode 166 of the show, and before we get started, we're going to do a bit of house cleaning quick because, well, you guys know I like to do it around here, and it only makes sense that we do it, so let's get on with the house cleaning. I do want to say happy Easter to everybody that, that celebrate Easter this weekend. I hope you guys had fun with your family in a safe manner. I hope you had fun with your friends in a safe manner. And I hope you just had a wonderful time. Maybe a day to relax, maybe a day to just enjoy yourself, enjoy some food, just relax. And obviously for those that, are believers, then, we obviously celebrate something a little bit more different. But I hope everyone had fun. I hope you guys just had a wonderful day. That's really what I hoped. And I hope you guys were safe this weekend. I know I was, and I was having fun. I went home for the weekend and I just had a fun time just to relax and just step away and just enjoy myself. But I also want to say thank you guys for helping the show hit over 2,200 total downloads. We're actually close to 2,300. So thank you guys for that. I really, really appreciate it. And you guys are great and lovely individuals. So thank you all. Also, thank you to everybody that's watching the show or listening to the show, because obviously you can watch the video version of the show on YouTube or you can listen to the audio version everywhere else. So I greatly appreciate it. And you guys are wonderful and great. I also want to say thank you to the Patreon backers as well, because you guys also support me and, I really appreciate it. So you guys are great. And, thank you for that. But it's one of those things where it's kind of a weird day to talk about something. And, I talked about it a little bit on my social media and you guys have seen, throughout the course of YouTube for the past few days, really, where we're going to be talking about the fall of LG. Because as recently announced during the weekend, LG has announced that they are leaving the smartphone space. And it kind of sucks because this could have been avoidable, in my opinion. If I'm being honest, this could have. But I also want to call out a lot of the BS, because I don't agree with how a lot of tech YouTubers are promoting the idea of LG and how they're talking about the eulogies. They're making great, I'd say they're doing good revenue from it in terms of like getting people to watch it and everything. But what really is disheartening is how they're skewing the commentary to remove blame, when in reality, they are to blame, like whether you like it or not. I know with LG, some people say, well, Josh, if you notice in a lot of those videos and those bigger tech YouTubers, they say, oh, LG made okay phones. When in reality, no, they didn't make okay phones. That's coming from the perspective of someone that doesn't understand. Someone who just genuinely doesn't understand what this phone does and the value that it provides. And I get it, value is a very subjective thing, but when we're looking at a market where competition helps boost everything, when you remove competition and keep, the bigger players on their toes, you start to lose, and you lose a lot. So we're going to talk about that today. And I'm going to break down why the main factors of LG, leaving the smartphone space really comes down to poor marketing on their part. But that marketing also includes tech reviewers, and I'm using that in quotation marks, reviewers and influencers impacting how people viewed LG phones. Because the reality is, in every review of smartphones, LG was always viewed as the whipping boy. They were always viewed as, the easy comparison to make Samsung phones or Apple, or make iPhones look better. And that's true. Whether you like it or not, it really was true, because that was the whole point. When you look at people that actually used LG phones, like Juan Carlos Bagnell, someone that I highly respect, he tells it how it is. And it's like, yes, this is a great phone because there's a lot of good things you can get out of it if you know how to use it and if it fulfills your needs, which is the main thing that a smartphone should do. It's supposed to fulfill your needs. It shouldn't just be a daily communicator. It's supposed to do something that you want it to do. And your needs could exceed that. Like, being honest, like for me, my iPhone SE fulfills my needs. It's a one-handed phone. I preferred a one-handed phone and not dealing with this, touchscreen, or I wouldn't say touchscreen, but more of Touch ID under the display, Face ID. Like, I didn't want to deal with any of that. I just wanted a phone I can use with one hand, easy, portable, small, light, that I can just carry with me everywhere. And it does everything I need because it has the horsepower to do everything. I don't really care so much about photography with my smartphones because, well, I have my professional camera that's much better. Yes, but it still takes great photos though, but it's not going to be the industry leading. So it's all about finding stuff that fulfills your needs as a consumer. And the reality is LG did provide a lot of value for a lot of people, whether you like it or not, because LG did so much good, like the hi-fi deck. They were the only companies that genuinely kept the headphone jack around, but also made it better and improved it year after year, not just made it a, stagnant. It was very evolution. It was constantly growing and getting better and better. And yeah, they were the only ones that actually did a hi-fi DAC, which is kind of sad because you would expect flagship phones from either Apple or Samsung to do that, like you would expect Samsung to genuinely keep a headphone jack but make it better, but they didn't. You want to talk about dual display phones with the cases and stuff like that, talking about the pro video modes that were in the LG, which I got to use when I used the LG V50. It's one of those things where LG offered a lot to people that want to be mobile content creators and give them something that they could take on the go and have a lot of extensive control of what you're creating. And that's what a lot of people seem to forget. That's what Sony's doing with their Xperia phones. That's what's happening right now, is creating a companion to go with your Sony camera. But it also is a very capable device, and it helps make mobile content creation much better. But the reality is, I know that LG's marketing was not the best. Let's be honest here. They did not market these phones the best. They didn't provide reasoning to why you should buy their phones. It was just, here's the phone, go, move on. And this is coming from someone that used an LG phone. I bought an LG phone. I bought the LG G6. I actually wanted to get the LG V30, but I didn't because I kept my G6. And for me, it's just one of those things where it just stings. If I'm being honest, it really does sting, because you don't want to see a competitor leave the market, but it's also a competitor I'm very familiar with and that I didn't hate. Like, yes, Samsung, everyone knows Samsung phones are going to do well. Everyone knows iPhones are going to do well. And in terms of the tech influencers, which I don't even want to call them reviewers anymore, there's only a few actual reviewers, but techies in general always gravitate towards the phones that generate the most hype or generate the most interest, that, when you make a YouTube video about it, they generate the most views. They generate the most, people clicking on it. They get the nice, easy clickbaity titles and clickbaity thumbnails, and you just get all this stuff going. But for me, it's one of those things where it's just not fun. Like LG was always viewed as the underdog. They were always viewed as jack of all trades, master of none. That they were considered okay at best phones, that they were never considered great. And I do agree, like LG did have some slip ups. Like, their software was not the best. Let's be honest here. LG software was not the best. Their software support also not the best. However, when they did pump an update out, it was a very good, well-refined update rather than quick updates that can probably brick your phone. So we can debate that all we want, but the reality is LG's phones offered great value at the flagship space. They also were the ones that were innovating the most. They were the ones that were willing to push the boundaries on a lot of things. Like, prime example, I know a lot of people like to skip over this, but the LG G8, that phone was the first phone to actually include genuine competition to Apple's Face ID. But no one cared about it because they were so busy focusing on the hand gesture feature, which was not the main point. Like, yes, it was cool that it could do a hand gesture, but the point was that it offered an actual Face ID competitor in the Android space, because it actually was a competitor. But no one really cared. They just wanted to bash the hand gesture because they thought, oh, this is stupid. And this is my problem that I have with modern tech reviewing, because it honestly is just brand supremacy. That's really all it is. You just want to promote the products and the services that get the most views and generate the most clicks. That's all you want to do. And then anything else that even challenges it, you're like, oh, no, trash, garbage. Like, instantly, it has to be bad. You know, it cannot be better than the competition. Like, LG could never be better than Samsung, right? But this is where my problem lies, especially when looking at a lot of videos coming out from people talking about, oh, LG, they were great, or they were, well, they never even called them great. They actually say it verbatim. They were okay phones. And they try to just make it seem like it's all marketing, that was the only problem. But what these reviewers or influencers don't want to say is that they have a lot of the blame themselves. And I know some people say, Josh, you can't blame them. And I'm like, well, yes, you can. The fact that they were not educating their audiences properly and being objective and fair was the problem, that people didn't really buy LG smartphones, because they're like, whether you like it or not, a lot of those tech reviewers do have dedicated fan bases, and they take their words as gospel, whether you like it or not. That's just the reality of what's going on, is they treat their words as gospel. And that leads to a lot of issues, because, well, if their favorite tech reviewer or reviewers are saying, hey, these phones are not good, then people won't buy it. Like, that's just what happens, whether you like it or not. And I'm not putting all the blame on them, but they do need to own up to a lot of the blame, because that's what they did. They weren't doing their job as tech reviewers and genuinely being objective and reviewing a smartphone for a long period of time. Rather just make the quick weekly breakdown and then move on. That's it. There was no 6 months later. There was no a year later. There was no follow-up, and there was no extensive deep dive into what you gain from using these phones. It's just quick, easy summaries, like take photos, take videos, move on. But no deep dive breakdown into the features that a phone offers, or what you get if you use this phone, or the experience that you can get. It's always just, hey, takes good photos, takes okay photos, okay video, good speakers, good display, good battery life, move on. Like, you know, that's not really extensive. And I get it. Smartphone reviews are starting to become dumber and dumber every year. I get it. But it's one of those things where it hurts that they don't want to admit that they have a lot of the blame. And that's what really stings the most, because it's like, no, you guys have a lot of the blame, whether you like it or not. I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings, but you have to own up to it. And I'm not going to pick names. I'm not just going to say, oh, it's this person. No, I'm not doing that, because that's not what I do. But I do want to be fair and objective and call people out when they don't want to take blame for something. But I will also say it's a combination of those things, of the lack of understanding from tech reviewers and not really understanding the character of LG smartphones, because that's what they always like to say, is that LG didn't have character, or they never really understood. And I'm like, well, then just say you never understood it, because you never really used it. Just say that. It's as simple as saying that, because no one is going to look at you differently. All that's going to mean is that, hey, you don't understand, and that's okay. You're not supposed to understand everything. And this is where I feel like we really need to start holding tech reviewers responsible, because this is what happens. They like to focus on the brands that generate the most clicks and views. And hey, I get it. You got to get your money. Like, I get it. You got to do what you got to do to make the bread. I get it. But if you're trading away your credibility for that, then it's not worth it. I would prefer being credible and prefer having objective standpoints on things, rather than focusing on, oh, can I maintain this relationship with this company so I can get, you know, free versions of these phones, or so I can do early reviews before everybody else. And it's like, no, I would rather maintain credibility and rather maintain my integrity than sell out and just, oh, praise this phone always, bash anything that's not close to it. And really, this could happen to anybody. If I'm being honest, you can look at any space in the technology space and be like, hey, I can see clear example of this. Prime example would be in the camera space, where anything that's not a Sony or camera is considered garbage. It's not considered good enough. It's not considered a professional tool. Like my Fuji camera is not considered a professional tool because its autofocus is not up to par with the full frame Sonys and the full frame Canons. And at the same time, Nikon too, they're struggling, and people are like, oh, they're just not as good as Sony and Canon. Same thing with like Pentax, same thing with Olympus, same thing with Leica, same thing with, let's see, who else do we want to throw on the chopping block? Sigma. Like, it's all these things because they're not good enough to be considered a professional camera or professional tool like the Sony or the Canon. And it's just, that's not true. It's how you use it. Like, if you know how to get to, I would say it's the product that fits your needs the best. And for me, like in my case of doing the YouTube stuff and even just my photography and videography stuff, the Fuji does what I want it to do, but I also learn how to use it properly. That's what I did. Is you take time to learn something. That's why it's your personal device. It's something that comes with you because it's yours. It belongs to you. So you want to know how to use it and how to make it work best for you. It's not, oh, this thing needs to have a general way that everyone's going to use it, because that's not true. Not everyone is going to use it the exact same way. And that's what's so dumb that, you know, even Juan made this point in his video talking about LG, that it's almost like if somebody was saying that there was only two ways of how to make an automobile. You would get laughed out of the building because that's so stupid. There is no two ways to how to do an automobile. There's many ways. Like, why do you think the automobile market has so many manufacturers? It has so many, it has so much competition in it at different price points. But yet, for some reason, we think the smartphone space should only have two people at the very top and no competition. You see the problem here? Like, are you starting to understand why this is concerning and why we need to hold tech reviewers and influencers accountable for this? Because they have a big role to play in the market, whether you like it or not. They really do. Because a lot of people that want to buy a smartphone will always go to a reviewer. They will always go to somebody whose opinion they value. The problem is when that opinion is heavily biased and they just don't want to admit it. That's the problem. And there's some people that openly admit their bias, and that's great. I appreciate that. And I'm not mad at them because they were at least open and honest about their opinion. The problem is when that opinion starts to borderline ignorance and, you know, they just generally don't know what they're talking about, then you're going into fanboy mode. But this is where I tell people, you really need to do your own homework. You need to be an educated consumer. You need to be an educated buyer. Before you buy something that you're not so sure about, maybe you should look into it. Like, why do we do this in every other aspect? We always look into stuff, but we don't do our research when it comes to buying products that we like. Like, you do your research and your homework when you're buying a home, right? You do your homework and your research when you're buying a car. You do your homework and your research when you're picking what school you want to go to, if you want to go to college or you want to go to trade school, and which school benefits you the most. But for some reason, when it comes to tech, we like to go off opinions rather than doing our own homework and seeing what fits our needs the best. You know? How ironic that in every other market, we do our homework. It's just in tech, we really don't give a shit. You know, it's baffling, it's jarring, but it just proves something very, very true throughout the industry, is that we really need a revamp in the whole tech reviewing space, because the fact that opinions are being treated as fact and gospel truth it's not good. There's something wrong. There's something wrong with the process that we need to address. And the reality is we need to address it. We all have responsibility in this. Same thing with tech reviewers, same thing with tech influencers. We are all responsible for what we say. We're all responsible to be better and to be more educated. But in order to do that, we have to learn to be more objective when having these kind of discussions, because if we're not objective, then we're just promoting our opinions, and opinions are not facts. They're not. Whether you like it or not, I'm sorry. Like, the facts don't care about your feelings. And I know, yes, I get it. That can be taken out of context. And yes, I get it that phrase is associated with someone very controversial. But I would say in this case, it's well needed, because yeah, the facts don't care about your feelings. You don't like this phone, that's okay, but that doesn't mean it's a bad phone. It just wasn't the best fit for you. And it sucks because I liked using my G6 a lot when I had my LG G6. I liked using the LG V50 when Juan sent it to me to use it to make a video and to review it. And I really liked it. I really liked my time with it. And it's just sad to see that LG is now leaving this space and now there's a void. Granted, a lot of people say that, even Juan has made the statement that OnePlus is definitely going to be the new punching bag because yes, they do a lot of great things and they still get good clicks, but it's not like people are starting to turn on OnePlus right now. Let's be honest. So we know they're probably going to get treated like crap. And then who knows, maybe OnePlus might go down the gutter too. But I think it's just sad that we're so hell bent on making sure that the market has two people in it as the top, as the only viable competition, when that's not a healthy market. That's a recipe for disaster, but that's a story for another time. But let me know, do you guys really care that LG is gone? Do you guys really care that, that we lose another competitor in the market? I think we really should, because it's really sad and it's actually important that we keep competition alive, because if we don't, then innovation dies with it. That's just the reality. Is if you're not keeping the top players on their toes and you're not pushing them to constantly be better to get your attention, then we are doomed as a market. And this is why a lot of people feel like the smartphone market is doomed, because now we're only got two players at the very top that push most of the sales. That's not a good thing, guys. It's not a good thing. And these are very scary times, and I could only imagine how things go from here. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, or hit me up on my social medias, how you guys feel about this, whether you care or you don't care. If you've had an LG phone, share me some of your favorite memories down below. But I thank you guys for your time. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I know that we've been doing one episode a week, but like I mentioned, school is the most important for me, and I'm really busy, guys. So school is definitely always going to be the most important to me than doing this stuff. I like doing this because it's a good way for me to relax and enjoy myself, because I like talking to you guys. Why wouldn't I? But I do thank you guys for everything. I hope this video was helpful. I hope it was useful, and I really do appreciate you guys. I really do. Thank you guys for your time. I love you guys to death. Please have yourselves a wonderful week and a wonderful weekend. Don't do anything dumb, guys. Try to be as safe as possible. Continue to be mindful and respectful of those around you, because we really need to, guys. It's one of those things where that's really what we have to do. I'd rather be kind and respectful to those around me, even if they don't agree with me on things. It's always good to just be kind and respectful, But I thank you guys for everything. Have yourselves a wonderful week, guys. I love you guys to death, and I will see you guys next week with, the next topic. But until next time, take care, guys. Bye. Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.